If you have any questions that aren't directly related to the presentation, our staff will be available after the visit or with me individually. We kindly ask that all comments and questions remain respectful and constructive. Everyone's voice matters. Maintain civility ensures that we have a productive conversation. This is the chance to learn why rates are increasing, hear about future plans, share your feedback directly with the city leadership. We'll talk about Brazosport Water Authority, which we call BWA. The city, like all the cities around us, they're committed to purchase a set amount of water by contract. This means that the city has to pay this amount regardless if we sell the water or not at the time. We, the city, does have to pay for this unsold water, which cuts into the city's maintenance and operation expenditures. This is the cost of water amount. Based on the number of connections, we have 7,824 versus the amount paid to BWA, which is $327,980 per month. The base rate should be $41.92 based on the number of connections that we have to be able to pay for this bill. The city has a base rate of $35.33 based on 2,000 gallons, because your base fee is based on 2,000 gallons. Any increases that BWA has, they also increase the city's bill. So if it increases 36 cents, the city has to pay the 36 cents too. This is what an average bill for 2,000 gallons cost. The base rate being $35.33. Your sewer base rate is $23.60. The garbage rate is $23.55. The tax is $1.94. And your total bill should be $84.42. This is a rate comparison. As of 2020, all the way to 25-26. The base rates in 2020 was $20.88. In 2025-26, it will be going up to $35.33. So within those 5-6 years, we've had an increase of $14.45 in 6 years. BWA's increase for those 6 years is $3.36. The city's rate increase out of those $14.45 is $11.09. The sewer base rate went from $11.19 to $23.60. That's $12.41 in sewer. The sewer rates are basically the city's rates. So the increase for the city is the whole $12.41. Technically, the $12.41 could be a high rate, but we are going out for a bond to fix our sewer plant. That's an $8 million bond. In order...
Sorry, I just see it.
I'm sorry? Okay. This is on water rates and sewer rates. The reason why we are increasing $4.42 this year for next year is because we are going out for a bond, an $8 million bond, to repair our sewer plant that's over 50 years old. We, at the moment, TCEQ is on our backs because it's not in compliance. So we have no choice but to fix the plant. So as a sewer plant, we are increasing the $4.52. So in total, from 2020 to 2026, the total is $31.46 increase for both all of them, water and sewer, which is $5.24 per year. The Angleton surrounding cities rates are lower due to their assistance from their local industries. The option of either lowering the rates of the water and sewer rates is to their discretion. At this moment, Angleton doesn't have an industrial base. The cities around us do have BSF, LNG, Dow, Chocolate Bio. They all have industrial bases that do contribute to the cities that they're in. We don't have that. Let's dive deeper into the water rates and infrastructure. The improvements, the water line improvements, they're due to the age of the material, the type of material, the installation methods, and the weather conditions. If it's real dry, your pipes are going to break. If it's the clay, it's going to break. And Hector will be going into all of this in a moment. Hector, you want to come up and do these? And this is the dot.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Hector Renteria. I am the Public Works Director here for the City of Angleton. Currently, as we're discussing these are your infrastructure improvements, which are obviously another effect of increasing utility rates. So currently we have $402 million worth of infrastructure improvements that we've identified between city staff, also city engineer, that, these are just necessary things that have come to the point of replacement. We look at City of Angleton as a whole. 70% of our population was here as of 1980, just based on census data. So that kind of tells us 70% of our infrastructure is 45 years plus. And so we're just at that point where the bills come and due to replace all these things. Just in the past 5 years, we have replaced $11 million worth of infrastructure in the past year. But 7 million of that was emergency only. It was, this sewer lines collapsed, this, water lines just completely failed on us. Those are the types of repairs that we've made. So there hasn't been a lot of proactive. We've just really gotten to the point where we've become reactive. And that's another thing we're trying to get ahead of. And, again, with the sewer plant issue, that's something that, got too far out of, without any maintenance. And so now we have the state, TCEQ, Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. They dictate everything that we do with our water and sewer systems. And so we're out of compliance there at our wastewater treatment plant. So in order to get back into compliance, going out for bond, increasing the utility rate, that was something that was 100% necessary. If you don't, you start incurring fines from them. So either way, you got to pay for it one way or another. Again, it's just going over $3.5 million worth of water lines that have been identified so far as city staff that we know are up for immediate replacement. Another issue we have for us is just the constant regulation changes from TCEQ. There could be like one we have up against us right now is this lead and copper revision rule, which what that's going to do for us is we have to come in and replace all the lead and copper, water lines out there, whether it's our line or a customer's line. All those have to be replaced within 10 years. And that cost is going to have to be passed down at some point. That's our next regulation that we're going to have to deal with. So again, a lot of these things that we just have to meet state mandated requirements. As Susie mentioned, our current wastewater plant is over 50 years old. There's a lot of issues there that are things that are falling apart. We've been putting money into it over the years. We did spend approximately $2 million on the headworks, which is where everything comes into the plant. So we have been performing maintenance over the past few years, but again, it's gone a long time without it. So now we're trying to hurry up, play catch up. Is basically what's going on. So our water meters. So we started replacing water meters in 2020. This was we went with a census AMI system, and what that is, it's smart meters that are in the ground. They use a radio to send the signal up into the radio, and that gets transmitted back to the city, and those automatic reads get put into the system, and that's what creates the bills. Currently, we're on the last 800 meters. Approximately, we have 800 meters left to change out. So the rest of the city has all been changed out. All those 7,800 connections that were mentioned earlier, all of those, we'd have 7,000 of them that are smart meters. So we have 800 left that we're going to be currently doing, and that is set to occur this year. Along with that, there is a smart usage water portal that great tool for all citizens. We recommend everyone sign up for it. We'd highly encourage it because you can set alerts on there as far as if you're getting high usage or detecting a leak or something along those lines. This has the ability where you can set alerts for it to do that. There's also I believe a vacation mode where you can kind of say, hey, we're going out of town this entire weekend, and from those dates to those dates, it'll let you know if there's any usage at all at your home, whether it's just a single drop, because you're telling the system no one's going to be home. So yeah, and we also have some information on that. If anybody who is not signed up for it currently wants to get signed up for it, we have information we can give you all for that. Mhm.
I would rather not.
It's
But
a
I
bit.
can talk louder if you would like. They just can't hear you, but
Yep.
from the back.
Because you're not at home. I was in the hospital once last year. $85 water bills. I'm not. Nobody's there. Nobody's there.
That is
You were probably to do with cable TV.
You can call someone. He said, are you getting charged for like
There are other services
electricity?
And we'll take questions after this.
And I get that. I get that. Electricity. I wasn't there, but nobody was using electricity, so my bill went down quite a bit because nobody was there. Another thing is, and I don't know where y'all, I live on the south side, right around the corner. So I walk along. Alone. And I called in, I feel like, how many times? 1, 2, break. It took them weeks to fix a break. That was just water. And who fixed it? Then there was another, it got so cold, I called them that. They took several weeks from that.
This is not going to be a grandstanding thing,
I'm not trying to be crazy.
but nevertheless, that's what's going on. We will take questions. We will address your concerns. There are a lot of other people here who are going to have questions and who want to see this presentation. This is not your show. But we said that there would be questions, but there would be ma'am, out of respect for everybody in this room, we will take questions after the fact. Thank you. I apologize, y'all.
Yes. So this slide depicts, just several different examples of what, because I know sometimes it's hard to fathom, leaks and how much water usage can actually add up. But this is it's just displaying, what 1 drop, 2, 3 drops a second could actually equate to, as far as gallons per month or gallons per day, and then obviously amount per year. And same thing with that circle dot. That's basically if you had that's kind of like the size of it. If you had a hole in your pipe about that size, that's the amount of water it would produce or waste. This slide right here is just a great example of the portal tool. As you can see, it shows like just an average day, from 4 p.m. or half a day from 4 p.m. all the way to 5 a.m. And it just depicts that, the blue lines are obviously when there's usage, and those orange lines mean there's not any usage. So this is something that you can look at if you have access to the portal. You can see what hours you're using water, what hours you weren't using water, all those kind of things, and the total amount you've used for that hour. Are you taking these back over, right? All right, we'll pass it back to Susan.
Thank you. As we were discussing the number of customers that we have versus what we pay for BWA, as city continues to grow, we have new connections, and our council and mayor are working with developers, trying to develop new areas and working with other entities to be able to sell more water to where we can lower this cost. As the customers come in and the base cost starts paying for BWA, we are planning to put our water wells online so we don't have to continue to pay that additional cost. Because if we don't pay the more than the 327,000, then we can start lowering that base rate. But at the moment, as I say, we don't have enough customers to pay for the BWA water. We do have a total of 6 water wells, so we want to bring back online. Hold on, just one moment.
Hang on just 1 minute.
Yes.
Before we get to the questions and answers, I want to introduce some folks that are in here. My name's Lupe Valdez. I'm the police chief, also / acting city manager right now. We have members of council, Tanner Sarton, Blaine Smith, Barbara Simmons, and Chrissy Daniels. So everybody's here to take whatever questions and answers you have. Hector, how many water leaks do we have in the city right now? You know? Okay. And just to answer your question, ma'am, those are put on a list, so it doesn't go right away. And then plus everything else that these guys are doing during the day and gals are doing during the day and taking care of water main breaks, water leaks and other stuff like that. So it's not being ignored. It's there.
I would think so that one step of that I had told about was very bad. That they would,
Okay. Noted.
Speak pretty loud.
Thank you. My name is Jim Clark. I'm a resident here, born in 1951. I used a lot of water since then, but paid for it all. My first question was going to be, you mentioned the contract with BWA. What is the time frame on when did we sign it? How long does it last? Who does the negotiations? And I had a water main, I guess it was main. I live on Holly Street over by West Side School. I bought that house over there in the 80s, 1980s. And there was a break. The water started buckling up. I called it in. 2 days later, a crew came out and fixed it. So I actually sent I don't remember the guy that was in charge of the water at the time, but I actually sent him a thank you email. I hope it made the paper, but maybe it didn't. That's all I have. Thank you.
So contract.
I can take that one. Okay, so with that BWA contract, I believe at the beginning of it, it was entirely a 30-year contract, I believe, where it started out at. Okay, but let me backtrack a little bit. Let me start out just by explaining the difference between surface water and groundwater. Okay, groundwater is very simple to treat because it's filtered through the aquifer. You bring that water up, it's got minerals in it which are good for us, and we chlorinate it, we are able to send it out. Very, very cost effective. Now, surface water, we're getting it. BWA currently gets their rights off of Dow. It goes through their water rights, so they're coming out of Harris Reservoir, Brazos Reservoir, those things. trickles down through Buffalo Camp Bayou. That's where they pull their water out. So needless to say, surface water all the way in South Texas, we're getting everybody else's water from up north, right? That's coming down through here. So water's got a lot of stuff in it. There's taste and odor issues. There's all those kind of things. So surface water, very, very expensive to treat. But the issue with groundwater is while it's easier to treat, you think, well, let's just pump all we can, right? Well, the state of Texas, that has been going on for a very, very long time. And so what's happening today is we're starting to get all these conservation districts and subsidence districts that are coming in, and they're really starting to limit counties on how much water they can actually pull from the ground. Luckily, Brazoria County is not at that point yet. We will be someday. We just don't know when it's gonna happen. So in regards to the BWA contract, now me as doing what I do professionally, I would never suggest that we get away from BWA in that sense, because at some point surface water is going to be all we're going to be allowed to pump out of the ground to a certain extent. And as this area continues to grow, surface water is going to have to become more and more prevalent to meet our needs of water. But yeah, I would, as far as negotiation, I mean, it's what the cost of treating surface water is. I mean, that's the cost of treating surface water. It's expensive.
Follow-up question. Does the price ever change from 30 years to 30 years? Maybe we get a better price.
Yeah, I mean, as this, yeah, it's just like anything else we have going on there out in the world. Things are just getting more and more expensive. Nothing's necessarily getting any cheaper today that I've seen out there in the world.
But I would highly recommend that you guys tune into some of the city council meetings. I think that tuning into the meetings for city council will be really helpful. You would see that a lot of the things that we're discussing tonight have actually been covered in great detail throughout those meetings. You can even go back. We host those on the city site on Facebook, and you can go back and see some of these details. It may answer more of your questions than we actually provide to you tonight in the time we have available. So you'll see things on plans for water cells, issues with the wells and water storage concerns and the costs of those, and all of this comes into play in the meetings. And these are questions that can be answered.
Okay, you mentioned the industrial base, why the surrounding areas have it and we don't. I consider Angleton to be industrial base because we're so close to the plants. When they go on shutdown, we have to go on shutdown. Why do we not have the industrial base? That's my first question. I'm going to ask about 3 or 4. That way I can get it all off my chest. Okay. Right.
Well, no, I mean, you can ask for it, but so we don't have industrial base because they're not within our jurisdiction. So we're not taxing it. So we're not receiving the taxing money. That's Freeport, Lake Jackson, Oyster Creek, Alvin. Those areas are the ones that are getting that money. We are not, because we're Angleton and we don't have a plant.
That would help if we could get industrial base though, right? Yeah.
Because we don't have a waterway that runs smack dab through the middle of this place or access.
Like Freeport does. And okay. Okay. The $8 million bond. What does that cover? I saw that y'all talked about an $8 million bond, and how does that influence the cost of this increase? That's a question.
Yes, so that $8 million bond is going to cover all the costs of the repairs at the wastewater treatment facility. That's going to entail, one of the main treatment components of that plant is it's an aeration system. It's a microbiological treatment technology. So what that is basically is we have bacteria in there that eat all the bad things out of the wastewater. We have to feed air to keep them alive, and so that system is completely outdated and it's not putting enough air in there. So that's what's causing our failures there at the wastewater treatment plant. And so that very expensive upgrade there. And we're also getting a reuse system, which recirculates, the water effluent that's going out of the plant. We're sending it to Oyster Creek, or it recycles that to where we're able to use it all throughout the plant. Because currently we're using 100% potable water there at the plant for all the different operations there. So that's going to save us on water.
Okay. In 2020, when the meters were replaced, prior to that, I'd never had a water bill over $100, and I had a family of 4. Okay. My water bill was like ridiculously low. since the water meter. Okay, this last month, my water bill was like $350. I would love to have her water bill. You know, I would love to pay 85. Well, it's my turn. It's my turn. Uh, okay, I'm just saying that $85 would be a gift to me. I live alone now, so I don't have a family of four. I live alone. Well, actually, I have a tenant, but even when my tenant wasn't there, she's a single 75-year-old retired woman. My water bill has been ridiculously into 200 phase, 300. And I have been over to the water department and I've gone over my water bill and I've had plumbers come to my house. You guys at the city are wonderful. Y'all have come to my place to find the leak, find the leak. Why is my water bill so ridiculous? I have had people, and my water bill generally runs way above 200. And, you know, granted, I have a water sprinkler system, but I literally have cut back on that just because of the incredible expensive cost that it has had on my water bill. But the days for me to have a water bill below 100, I just don't ever see that anymore. I'm 63 years old. I'd like to retire, and I look at my property taxes, and I look at my water bill and my electricity bill. And my concern is, as a retired person, I'm screwed. I'm going to be paying a mortgage payment no matter what when it comes to the combination of the three. So I'm actually pleading with you to give me solutions. I plan to come to your office to say, help me figure out, is there anything else that you could find in my property that would tell me there's a leak somewhere? Because I'm convinced there has to be something, because I have had plumbers at my house. I've had your staff from the water department come and do all kinds of little tests. And I don't know what else to do. It's a frustration. I sense her frustration. I validate you, but it doesn't do us any good to get mad at these guys. These guys are actually trying to help. And I appreciate every single one of y'all, because I appreciate y'all having this meeting, thinking that, oh my God, we're going to have spears shot at us. Thank y'all for what you're doing. But I want to retire, and I see these expenses as almost impossible for me to retire, knowing that my property taxes alone, combined with my water bill, it keeps me working.
So I think one of the So I'm going to tell you this: since the meters have been replaced, and actually as soon as the meters were replaced, my water bill went up as well. And I'm going to tell you this: the meters are incredibly effective at catching every single drop of water. So if you were getting a low bill before, it's on the house, I suppose. Well, and I am too. I'm going to tell you right now, I got 4 kids, and 2 of them are teenagers, and you may know how that is. So I've got a $300 and something water bill pretty much every month, and I can't stand it. But we're using the water, and I try to push and get stuff cut back on. It's just the way it is for us. That's a good one right there. Thank you.
Because we can monitor.
Ma'am, there is actually a private company called American Leak Detectors that come out and find leaks for private residents if they have it on their side. Yes, ma'am. It's on. You can Google it. I've told Chloe, you can call Chloe. She's gonna go pull that number up. But you know, the older meter, you know, when you have a slow leak, it wasn't efficient, so it may not have. I know. So American Leak Detectors.
This is John Peterson. He's with the HDR city engineer.
I just had a quick question. How long has the sewer plant been out of compliance? How long has it been out of compliance?
Since the middle of 24.
Since the middle of 24. So has any previous city council budgeted for maintenance to that? Because you're saying it's a 50-year-old mechanical piece of equipment that needs to be maintained. has there not been any type of budget for that maintenance? That why all of a sudden are we having to come up with all this money at this one time where the previous city councils have approved all these new homes and new subdivisions? I mean, a 50-year piece of equipment, and you're adding all this stuff onto the sewer plant. I mean, you're putting a lot more strain on. And are y'all going to be ready when you get ready to turn those wells on, or they've been maintained?
So in regards to the wastewater plant, again, some maintenance has been done in the past, as I mentioned headworks and a few other things. Now, what's going on with this aeration system is initially it was designed, it's what we would call a coarse air bubble system. So when it was first designed 50 years ago, that was, cream of the crop. We met our effluent permit regulations without any issues, and we have for a very long time. But what happens is over time, TCEQ changes their regulations where they want you to put out less ammonia out into the environment, less of this out into the environment. And so what that does is, we built a plant originally designed for X amount of milligrams per liter of ammonia to put out, but now they've changed that regulation on us. So that's part of it too, not just age, but also the fact that over time, TCEQ and EPA, we have to meet more stringent regulations.
How long have you been? We weren't decided before this work.
First one. This is the mayor, by the way. 2 weeks ago.
2 years ago.
23.
It takes time to get the engineers involved, which we did, and start working on solutions, and then trying to find the budget, which HDR actually gave us a heads up. What would you say, 2021, when the full wastewater analysis was done for the entire city, what was needed, what was going to need to be done in the next few years. And that's when I would say I felt there were other things that were pressing at the moment. The water tower on the south side of the town was falling apart. So we had to do an emergency bond for getting the groundwater storage here at Shenango done, getting remember the freeze that happened in the winter and the water was just dripping out of the south side tower. Those were both considered emergencies to us that we had to take care of first. The bonding capacity for the city comes from both wastewater and water. So in the meantime, while we were working on that, we were also making sure that we were getting the money together to do the treatment plant. And in the meantime, TCEQ came through and said, hey, you have a fine, you need to do something about this. And we were trying to make that faster. Then Hurricane Beryl hits and we lose pumps there. So it's been just a cascade of issues in the last 5 years that have really started coming on. And that's what we're trying to get a handle on.
So you mentioned a new home building, right? The new homes that were coming on, taps that were going to be added to the system, right?
Well, what I was saying
is, so some of these subdivisions are on their own utility district. They're in the ETJ. They're outside the city. The ones that are in the city, we've worked to as best we could in this council to capture acquisition fee capacity, to assess capacity acquisition fees for those units, and that would go to fund the improvements we need. And as John was telling me in my ear just a minute ago, to mention that some of the infrastructure extensions that were needing to go to those developments were that burden was being placed on the development companies, so that we as a community were not saddled with the connections, based on that development, because that could be piping running underneath the roads, no telling, right? So.
Have a question. Maybe y'all already know the answer to this, maybe not as a group, but in the presentation, if I'm not mistaken, you mentioned that new rooftops mean we can bring the wells back online, which lowers our BWA over time. How does that work? how does bringing new rooftops have anything to do with bringing wells on? And maybe that's a question I just don't understand the process yet. So.
Yep. I think that might have been misphrased a little bit in the sense that no, the rooftops aren't going to bring the wells online. But what it is the city does have some existing wells, and they need some work done to them. They need some testing done to them. And also the main issue is that we don't have a direct transfer line to move all that water from one to the other. So that's kind of there with the water wells. Now with new rooftops coming on, what it is we're able to utilize that entire contract amount that we have with BWA, because we're not even using that entire contract amount today. And so what's going to happen is as more rooftops come in, we're going to be able to utilize that entire contract and utilize all that. And then we're going to have the water wells to supplement the extra, because currently we don't have the water wells online. So that kind of triggered us to, we have no choice, but you have to have a source water. And so that's where BWA's plays in, and you got to have more water than you would average out on a daily basis, because you have peak flows that you have to account for too.
So currently, what are we doing with the extra water? We just selling it? We leaving it in the river for them? I mean,
it's when
we're not storing it anywhere.
No, these contracts with BWA, it's take or pay. It's 2.3 million gallons a day. Whether you use it or not, you're paying for the 2.3 million gallons a day.
We're paying for it. So why aren't we utilizing that water that we're paying for? That's my question. Like, what can't we save it?
Well, I mean, the only way we can't save it. The only way for us to utilize it would be if you guys start using more water and spending more money. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And understand that the rooftops that you're seeing come up are going to help us subdivide that bill further. And actually, some of the rooftops that are coming up have helped in dividing the cost of bonding and all these things that we're seeing amongst more connections.
Yeah, I'd like to add something to that. So we are contracted whether we use it or not. So a lot of times we don't use all the water that BWA gives us. It sits there, but we contractually still have to pay for it. One thing that we're working on is trying to find more sources for the water and to find more storage capacity for the water. Because if we're going to get paid, we're going to have to pay for it. We might as well just take it and put it in our storage tanks and hold it. Right. And that's what we're working on right now. The one thing I would say is about 3 or 4 years ago, when all these rooftops started coming through and everything was getting approved real quick, BWA came to us and said, we're going to max out your line. If you don't take it and pay for this water now, we're going to give it to Rosenberg or Richmond, who, if you've seen the tower, the little plant over there on 288, as you're about to go over 521 off to the left, looks like the mini Astrodome is what I call it. That is actually a holding cell for the water going up to Rosenberg. BWA has us and them on the same line. And they were going to take that extra capacity. And we said, no. We have all these rooftops coming. We're going to need water. So we went ahead and contracted for that. Then interest rates went up. Things started happening. Inflation. The rooftops didn't come. The water's still there. So we're having to pay for that water. So by these other rooftops coming in these subdivisions, it helps alleviate that problem. On top of that, we don't have the industrial base that other cities have. I wish we did, but we've lost a lot of that industrial base, water users, heavy water users that would take that water and pay at a premium for that water that would help us alleviate that problem. So it's really on the residents at the moment and whatever small commercial we have here. So that basically sums up every problem we've got right now.
The mayor has been working to find outlets for the additional capacity.
We're close.
And so hopefully that works out for us. We can work on getting some additional elevated storage capacity. And this thing will that's not going to sort it out. People work it out and you think it sorted itself out, but it'll come this will come to a head in the not so distant future.
All right. My question is about the bond. How much is it going to cost? The bond. How much is it going to cost individual? I can tell you, I feel for these ladies. I know exactly what they're saying. We're on fixed incomes. We went through an incredible budgeting process so I could figure out what we could live on and retire. Okay. We expect our city officials to have done the same thing. The problem is that I am sitting here with an increase of 30 to 40% on one bill, but it's not the only one that's got. This was not something that we foresaw. So where in the heck does the money come from? It comes from our food, our ability to do any entertainment, whatever. It comes somewhere else. So something else had to give. You understand? So I expect the same thing with the city to show us, but how much is it going to cost the bond going to cost each of these rooftops?
It's going to cost $7.52. Well, it's part of your sewer base rate. But we don't have it set up that way, but we could try to see if we can set it up that way. Right, the $3.62, that was an increase last year at the end. And then this coming October, it would go up to $4.52. Yes. Seven something, yes, ma'am. Yeah. Right.
I have a quick question. Oh,
Yeah. So on the budget, last year, we adopted a no new revenue rate. So even if your property tax appraisals went up, the rate went down in the city of Angleton. You should not have paid any extra property tax last year than the prior years. This year, there's a 3-cent increase. That 3-cent increase is not including the water and the wastewater. It is all about the cost of health insurance, the roads getting fixed, which have not been fixed. And yeah, that's another issue. So, so the roads getting fixed is 200,000. The health insurance is about 350,000. It's about a 730,000 increase. Susie, what am I missing? What's the other big piece of that? The bond, that's the loan for the FEMA reimbursement, correct? And those are the major three pieces that are in the increase year over year. 3 cents on property tax. Is there anything else I'm missing on that?
Okay, I have a question. Chief, you got something?
Go ahead.
I just want to say about the budget. You say you skimmed down on your budget. Ma'am, we have the citywide has skimmed down that budget, and the mayor can address that.
We've cut $1.5 million out of the budget in the last year, which is bringing us back to 22-23 spending levels. That was something that we as a council did last year in the budget and said, no more, we're done with this. We're going to start cutting this. And that's why you got the no new revenue rate and a $1.5 million expenditure decrease. We've frozen heads. We haven't added back a lot of those heads back. The, what else? Travel and training has been cut 200,000, which appropriately it should. And then we've cut a lot of other areas of the city where, you know, if you notice, we didn't do concerts in the park this year. We cut that. We cut a lot of things out of the budget, skimmed it down to the bare bones. And it was below the 22-23 spending levels. This year, we are 0.23% higher than 22-23 spending levels. So even that 1.5, we didn't even go up. We're at 700, and most of that's health insurance that hopefully we don't end up getting charged for. Hopefully some of that, we're able to negotiate that down, but in budget, we have to budget what they're telling us. So we're not going to see that just yet. We might, but there's still some hope that we can get some savings there and get some other projects done with the excess money. But this council is very motivated in project completion. That is the biggest thing that I think this council is really motivated to see. We're tired of seeing projects languish on and take forever to get done. We are about getting them done now. So I hope you see that change in the next year.
I have a solution. We just need more customers, right? To pay the bill?
Absolutely. That's what we need.
No more customers. So The highest or the greatest employer, I guess, is the county and the schools in our area. Is that correct? So we need more county equipment and more schools. That's what we're getting. So we're getting more customers. Do they pay their bills?
Unfortunately, because they're out there in that new subdivision that has its own water system. But you're right. We need more users. And as we get more schools inside the city or more county buildings inside the city, we would see an increase there. They do pay water bills, just so you know.
And I just want to add that those two new schools, they have brought more people here. They're living in the city. They're buying some of these new homes. Matter of fact, I can tell you from the police department standpoint that we have a candidate starting next week who came to us from Texas City. Her husband is a coach at one of the new schools. So they moved down here. So I think the two new schools are adding stuff to us.
I would like our HDR engineer to speak on something. He's got a really good point.
The city's worked really, the city's really worked aggressively to help try to offset these costs by leveraging all different types of certain aspects. Everything from new partnerships, which Councilman Sarton was saying about getting capacity acquisition fees, asking them to extend critical infrastructures to help the city, the community, not just them, but the rest of the city to get better water flow, better water quality. They've exhausted those efforts and continue on. They're getting money in from these developers that they're buying actual capacity in the existing system to where the city's capturing that money and able to use that to help offset these costs. Another thing that we've done, or that I've done in the last 2 years, is we've aggressively went after grants. In the last 2 years, we've gotten over $7 million in grants for the city of Angleton, over $2 million in sanitary sewer improvements, and a $5 million downtown approval. So the city is looking at all different avenues, all different alternatives, anything they can to really offset these costs and help the citizenry, as well as budget adjustments. So they are working hard. Staff, Hector has done a fantastic job. I work for many cities across the Houston metropolitan area, and this city right here has really tried to limit the impacts in these tough times. The things that we need to talk about that is just the cost of chemicals, the cost of these equipment. The equipment that's going to go in a treatment plant has gone up 50% in the last 7-8 years, I'd say. When we used to budget for wastewater treatment plants just 10 years ago, we would look at anywhere between $15, $20 a gallon for a treatment plant for going in. Now it's 45. So those prices are doubled. The mandates that Hector talked about that are state mandated, they're not funded. So again, council scrambling, trying to find that money to stay compliant with TCEQ on these non-funded mandates from the state. So I can tell you they're leveraging partnerships with developers. They're leveraging partnerships with other public entities. They're also looking at grants. One of the things that the 2 years that y'all were talking about on the wastewater treatment plant was because they were evaluating different funding options to potentially help the city out. So they've really worked hard on this. This isn't something that they've come to without putting their due diligence in and turning over every rock and trying every partnership. So
I actually have a question real quick for all of you. How many of you use recycling? How many of you would be mad if it went away? What if you had an opportunity to find to have a source where it was centrally located so you could just take your stuff to it? Because right now, most of your recycling is actually going to the landfill, right? Because as it's spoiled, because somebody throws something in there, they spoil the whole bunch. I'm giving total credit to Councilman Blaine Smith here with coming up with this idea. I'm not taking credit for it, but he's got this idea, and I think it's great you're here tonight. Let's ask you, if we could save money on the water bill and decrease the water bill off that recycling and find a central location where we can actually get people that want to use it and use it, would you be open to that idea? It would, that's correct. And it's on your water bill. So it won't be the full offset of the increase, but it's going to be something, some relief. There you go, Councilman Smith.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
David White, my question. Hello? I'll be back. Anyway, my question is, how many new roofs do we have in Angleton in the city limits?
We had 5,000 homes platted for the last 3 years. Windrose Green is technically outside the city, but it uses water and sewer because it's right there next to us. So they're using it. Riverwood's almost finished. That was, John, I'm going to ask. So yeah, 1,200 out of those two subdivisions. Yeah, Park Place, Khyber Reserve is finished almost.
Okay, well, my question is, with all this new growth that we have,
Yes, sir.
BWA is sending us water, and do we have booster pumps? I'm wondering about water pressure for all these new homes.
That was
Is
one of
it-
the big reasons why we put that new Southside water tower in.
Yes, sir, I live
to
over
give
there
you
by it.
that pressure, all that extra water, putting pressure on the system.
Okay,
Did I say that right? I
okay.
try to listen to all this. I'm an accountant by trade, not an engineer. But you agree with that?
The city's also increased the sizes of the pumps at the booster pump stations.
There you go. That's what I was.
So
next question.
that's been going on for the last 3 years. So they we probably doubled the pumping capacity in a couple of them, especially Shenango. Shenango we have, and then also we increased probably 30-40% at the Henderson Water Plant. So there has been, it's not like the city hasn't been doing the infrastructure improvements. It's just the materials were used back in the 40s and the 50s, you know, that it's just like a tire, right? Used to be everybody drove around on a nylon tire. Now you would laugh if you saw somebody on a nylon tire. It's just the same thing with the building materials that you see. You know, you don't see asbestos, stuff like that anymore. And everything's fiberglassed and taken care of. It's the same thing with pipes. Everything used to be the best that they could do. You know, like clay pipe or your sanitary sewer, it lasts forever, but it's fragile. It moves, it leaks, has a lot of what they call inflow and infiltration in that sends more money, more flow to the treatment plant through lift stations. So you got way more electrical costs. You got way more treatment costs, labor costs, operation costs all around. Well, part of that $7 million in grants that the city's acquired is for 2 large sanitary sewer rehabilitations to take those pipes out. So they are making real big strides in that with their partnerships through the GLO and the CDBG through the county.
Grants.
Any more questions?
Before y'all go, I do want to say something.
Well, I want to say thank you to everybody who came out. And again, I'm gonna reiterate it. A lot of this information, if you go to the city's website and look through some of the past agendas, you'll find items that may be in your interest, and you can go back and look at those dates and watch the videos. A lot more of your questions could be answered there in depth with the discussions that we're having as a council. And I would really look forward to seeing you guys coming to some of these meetings. If there's stuff that you're not interested in, it's what it is. But there are things that you can look on the agenda. The agenda was posted to the city's website, I believe today for next week. And so you can go on there and see what we're going to be talking about. If it's something you're interested in, please come and see us. We love the community coming out and visiting with us.
Okay. When I was trying to get at, I don't like waters your yard, care what's about my yard. That's the truth. No, what's more important to me, water, I just let it run now because I know I'm gonna have $5, even though I'm not using that much water. I just let it run. All that's teaching is going against what I learned. So this, there's got to be I don't know. Then to charge me water, they're not even. That's basically what I'm doing.
Your base rate.
I mean, you have a minimum, and I've told about it before, I've complained about it before. It's only have a minimum. So, why not use it? But like I said, it's my rule. And then when I'm like I'm on like Saturday now, because I'm part of the slide and I don't see it. Another thing I'm gonna talk about
We have well, we just finished the water tower in the last year. We do have a park going in on the south side, which that's correct. They're hoping to break ground by the end of this year or early next year, which is Abigail Arias Park. It should have a water feature, a splash pad. And
Lift station 24 is out to bid right now.
that's right, lift station 24.
And I feel like that's it's not like you know, they go by. We're now, how will
I don't believe this was a gross negligence.
I didn't know. Why not in
What projects have we done at the water treatment plant in the last 10 years? Okay. Hector.
We have to divide the capacity that we have to purchase among the taps that we have. That's the way this works. There's no other way. There's no better way. That way for everyone else. I mean, do you point out anything?
I need these right here, like my notes. Yeah. These wastewater plant projects.
That's the answer to the problem. In our house, by what we're having, we not produce the water that deal with pass it on to the system, which we all are.
We want input from the citizens. We want representation from the citizens. We want to hear from you. I like hearing from what you're saying. I like your idea of trying to find a better way around the base rate. I think in the future, if you get more users and we have to start looking at a way to conserve water, that might be an excellent idea. Take the base rate down and then you stay at your lower base rate. And maybe that's a way to save on the water for the rest of the city.
Or maybe something like this. If you take from 0 to 1,000, you pay this much. Anything after 1,000, you pay this much. Up to this much.
Change the base rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Change it.
Yeah,
Can't
less
do
than
it.
2,000. Or do it to action.
The actuals.
I got teenagers. Showers alone or showers alone. They have to run. The citizens. Get it lower base.
We discussed that 2 years ago in the council meeting, and it was not met with great fanfare. Well, Councilman Sarton makes, he's correct that if right now we took and lowered it and gave you to actuals or to a lower base rate, somebody else, everyone's gonna have to increase that cost because we're not using enough of the water, right? But in the future, as these houses are built out and we have more water connections and we need to find ways to conserve, that's a great idea that we could do. When's that gonna happen? I couldn't tell you. Personally, I thought by now we would have at least the 3 of these subdivisions fully completed. While I was not in favor of all these subdivisions, I recognized what was going on with them and what we had to do to be prepared for them. Yes, Susie. There's only one difference in the rate.
The only change we had was from the base rate. The rates for the additional gallons used is the same. It's charged per gallon. Yes, ma'am.
And any user outside the city
The
pays
ones
a
that
higher rate.
Has 1.25.
And there's not very many of them.
Outs-
If they're tied
Correct.
into a system, yes.
Yes.
If
Right.
they are, yes.
If they are.
You and Waste Connections would get along really well. They would love to go to a once a week schedule, but most of the citizens in Angleton have all said, we want our 2 days a week.
Yeah, with my wife's Amazon deliveries and all those kids' garbage, I'm telling you right now, we fill up both of those cans.
I know, and I,
There's so many benefits. There are so many benefits to once a week trash service, less wear and tear on our roads. The trash truck not coming down our roads and messing them up as quickly as possible. And then you would have a lower bill because it'd be once a week service. But citizens demand their 2 days a week. And a lot of times clutter can get really bad real quick on the side of the road, you know? So that was something that was. Right.
Yes, sir, Mark.
30-year bond, right? It's 30-year. There's now there it is 30 years. Susie is a wizard at this. I'm in accounting, but I will tell y'all, we had some changes in leadership in the last couple of years. We had different people at the helm. When we took this, we made some changes in the past year. Susie came back to us. Susie was our finance director for how many years, Susie? 24? 24. 24 years, and it's come back to us. And Susie is great at the declining schedules and the amortization schedules that go along with the bonds. She's also really good at finding ways to save on the interest rate so she can go back and rebid in the future if bond rates go down. Susie knows how to do all this. And that's why she's very invaluable to me personally, but I know to the rest of the city staff. I can't. She's the one she's finding the ways for us to save money. Yeah. Yes, sir. You can do that now, but Waste Connections will charge you for the extra can. It's $15 a can.
Excellent question. 12.90. I asked that question last week whenever I brought the idea about getting rid of recycling, and somebody came to me and said, well, the extra can, and I'm like, okay, well, now I know that, part of taking up the recycling. And she said, well, can I get a second can? So then I asked Chloe, and she said it's an extra $12.90 a month for another can at home.
Real quick, as we wrap up, I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. I know these water bills are a problem. This council is very committed to fixing these issues. I'm not just saying that for lip service. You can come to our council meetings and hear us almost every council meeting talk about this. This council wants to fix this issue. We're just very one arm behind our back because of BWA, and the other arm is because 50 years of infrastructure in this city, actually older than that in some places, that was in the past run to failure, not run to fix, or have a maintenance program on it, but run to failure and then fix it. So it's a big paradigm shift from what this council is trying to do. It is. Although people have been doing plans and people have been working on it. The problem is money's limited always. And a lot of times citizens would come to us and say, why are you tearing up my street? There's nothing wrong with that street. Well, if there's a maintenance schedule to it, we didn't run it to failure. We fixed it. Well, then people will say, you're wasting my tax dollars. Why are you fixing this now? It doesn't need to be fixed now. But our maintenance schedule says, well, now's the time to fix this water line. So that's always the inverse that we get from. Same.
You got extra water, you can water your yard.
And
you got extra water, you could water your yard.
That they can ask questions afterwards. We also have representatives here, our water meters, if they wanted, somebody wants to talk about.
My name is Viola Damien, and I live
Nice,
off, nice, thank you. I live off of County Road 44 in Angle. And you're talking about repairs. Boy, they use that road a lot. Ambulances, fire trucks, everything, and they patch them up, but
come see me after
they
this meeting. We
Band-Aid
can
'em.
talk about 44.
Big time. Thank you.
I want to let you all know that they're wrapping up now. I'm going to stay. If you have any questions for me, I'll stay over here. Also, we have representatives from the water meters. Can you raise your hands? Okay, so if you have an electronic meter and you need to ask questions about those meters specifically, they can answer them. And
Chloe has those sheets.
Chloe has sheets for signups if you, for the portal. I highly encourage you to get those portals. I've actually had one. Yeah, I got an alert and it said, hey, you're using a lot of water. What's going on? I had a sink that was on that one of my kids left on. And I didn't know about it. And I didn't know that it stayed on all night. But I got the alert and it told me. So that thing works very well. Okay. Thank y'all very much.